Hey guys, what's up? Spectre here, and I'm back with more of the biggest Cyberpunk headlines with none of the fluff. Let's get right into it. From the tabletop to console and back to the table, the Cyberpunk brand is back in a big way. Not only do we have Cyberpunk Red, the new tabletop adventure from Mike Pondsmith himself, which I'll discuss more in a bit, but we also have Cyberpunk 2077 Afterlife. In this new card game, players will take on the role of a fixer, one of Night City's well-connected smugglers and information brokers. You'll need to hire a team of cyberpunks, equip them, and send them on missions. The description from CD Projekt themselves reads as follows. Each successful mission raises your street cred, with mission survivors becoming veterans, imparting their knowledge and experience to newer recruits. In this chrome-infused world, street cred is the only currency that matters. If you'd like to pick up Afterlife, you'll have to wait till sometime in 2020. But what you can pick up now is that tabletop game I mentioned earlier, Cyberpunk Red. Talsorian Games has recently released the Jumpstart Kit, which can get you started with everything you'll need to start a new tabletop adventure. This time in the 2040s. The game features tons of new lore that fills in the gap between 2020, the setting of the original Cyberpunk tabletop RPG, and 2077, the upcoming video game. Its name comes from a time period within the game's lore. After the Fourth Corporate War, where the world's major megacorporations went toe-to-toe, there was a period known as the Time of Red. Militech, the corporation we've seen quite a bit of so far, detonated a nuclear bomb in the Arasaka headquarters, creating a red blanket of particles in the atmosphere that took years to dissipate. After that, the US government confiscated most of Militech's assets, but even with this newfound might, the US government failed to regain control of the Free State of California and of Night City itself. And so the city has been all but abandoned by the government at large in the wake of the catastrophic explosion. Corporations like Arasaka would use different means to spread their influence across the now recovering Night City. They did this by hiring gangs, edge runners, and even buying off some of the few politicians left in the city. But why am I going into such detail around the history of the game? Well, I think it paints a bigger picture. After we saw the first trailer for Cyberpunk, CD Projekt Red described many parts of the city as run down, as shadows of their former selves, and this lore fits in perfectly with that. A city abandoned, now re-emerging with a mix of cutting-edge and old-world tech, run by corporations and gangs. Even one of the most recent stories that I reported on, describing the law enforcement system in Night City, lines up well with this new lore, with corporations pulling the strings behind the passing of laws and their enforcement. This is just another sign that this grand universe may be expanding with card games, video games, and new tabletop adventures, but it's still coming together as a massive, cohesive story, which can only bode well for the final product. A few new details have surfaced thanks to the latest issue of Polish magazine PSX Extreme. I've sifted through the translations and found some interesting new info. I've reported on the Badlands, the wasteland just outside of Night City, and the fact that players will be able to go there. But thanks to PSX Extreme, we now know a bit more. The factions who inhabit the Badlands are known as the Wraiths and the Aldecados, and they're often at war with one another. The Wraiths supposedly being hostile towards the player, and the Aldecados being a bit more open. The Polish publication also divulged more about the loot system in Cyberpunk. Loot won't only come in the form of weapons or clothing, but also crafting materials in order to make and sell your own wares. Not only that, but players will be able to install implants that help them spot hidden loot and crafting materials. And they can also persuade NPCs to share any secret stashes that they might know about. And finally, where most games force players to commit to a single romanceable character, at least by the game's end, 2077 will not. Players can feel free to engage in multiple relationships at once. It's unclear whether or not there will be consequences to doing that, but at least CD Projekt is giving players the choice to get their groove on while getting their game on. And that's it for this Cyberpunk news update. Make sure to sub for more coverage of this game and of games like Vampire the Masquerade, Bloodlines 2, and The Outer Worlds. And as always, thanks for watching, guys.